Nike that included the national flower of the Philippines. That's so cool.
A single white flower with 5 tiny petals, each about the size of a fingernail, stitched onto a simple hair tie. At first glance, it looks almost insignificant. Yet that small hair tie is the very reason you're watching this video. The title teased.
That was actually a surprise for me. Like, the message behind it was great. And I was like wearing my little flower. Oh my God.
It was the smallest gift Nike could have given Alexandra Eala. A simple white hair tie. One tiny embroidered flower with 5 delicate petals, no larger than a fingernail. And somehow, that tiny flower became one of the most meaningful symbols in modern tennis. Because it wasn't just any flower. It was the Sampaguita, the national flower of the Philippines. When Alexandra Eala walked onto center court at Wimbledon in the summer of 2025 wearing that white embroidered hair tie, she never had to explain what it meant. The flower spoke for itself. For millions of Filipinos watching around the world, it became something far greater than a fashion accessory. It became a quiet symbol of identity, pride, and belonging. Over the following year, Nike and Eala continued building on that single design, until one embroidered flower evolved into an entire visual identity embraced by Filipino fans across the globe. This is the story of how one tiny gift became something much bigger. To understand why that hair tie mattered, you only need 3 facts. First, when Nike presented the gift before Wimbledon in July 2025, the handwritten note was partially written in Tagalog rather than English. According to Tennis.com, the card included a Filipino proverb, asterisk, what you plant today, you'll one day reap. Asterisk second, just 4 days before this video, on June 21, 2026, Alexandra Eala finished runner-up once again, at the Eastbourne Open, after losing another dramatic final to Maya Joint in a championship tiebreak. Third, as of June 20, 2026, Eala is ranked world no. 30, making her the highest-ranked Southeast Asian woman in WTA history. A proverb. A heartbreaking loss. A historic ranking. Those 3 moments form the foundation of this story. Now here's where sponsor stories usually become predictable, but this one deserves a more honest conversation. Nike is a global corporation. The Sampaguita campaign was also smart marketing. The Philippines is a nation of more than 110 million people, with one of the world's largest diasporas. Marketing executives approved the campaign. Designers developed the concept. Creative teams refined every detail. None of that makes the gesture fake. The more interesting question is this: can something created to sell products also become something that people genuinely love? In this case, the answer appears to be yes. Because once people embraced the symbol, it stopped belonging only to Nike. It became theirs. At the same time, another challenge emerged. Every time Eala wears that flower, she carries expectations far beyond tennis. Representing a nation is far heavier than wearing a simple hair tie. Every match suddenly means more than wins and losses. Every victory inspires millions. Every defeat becomes deeply personal. That's the balance this story explores. The marketing is real. The meaning is real. Those 2 truths don't cancel each other out. They exist together. Everything began on July 1, 2025. That day, Alexandra Eala stepped onto center court at Wimbledon to face defending champion Barbora Krejcikova. She became the first Filipina ever to compete in a Wimbledon main draw singles match on center court. Hidden in her hair was Nike's gift, a white hair tie embroidered with a single tiny Sampaguita. Most television viewers never noticed it. But once people learned what it represented, they couldn't stop seeing it. Its small size was exactly why it worked. A giant logo would have felt like advertising. The flower felt personal. The note accompanying the gift made the gesture even more meaningful. According to tennis.com, Nike wrote, "Every dream begins as a seed. What you plant today, you'll one day reap." The message described Eala as a Filipina carrying her nation into full bloom. Rather than relying on a generic motivational slogan, Nike chose to communicate in Tagalog, the language spoken in millions of Filipino homes. That decision mattered. And so did the flower itself. The Sampaguita has served as the national flower of the Philippines since 1934. Its name is traditionally associated with the phrase Sampaguita I promise you. For generations, Filipinos have woven Sampaguita flowers into graduation ceremonies, weddings, religious celebrations, and family traditions. The flower represents purity, loyalty, hope, commitment. Wearing it onto center court wasn't simply a fashion choice. It became a promise. A promise to family. A promise to country. A promise to every young Filipino dreaming of following the same path. But the story didn't stop with one hair tie. By early 2026, the Sampaguita had grown into something much larger. When Eala visited Nike World Headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon, as a global ambassador, the company unveiled a Sampaguita-themed display created in her honor. They also revealed a custom Nike by Yushu featuring Sampaguita-inspired artwork, Philippine flag elements, and references to her remarkable breakthrough season. The flower had moved beyond an accessory. It became part of Nike's design language. Soon afterward, the same visual identity appeared on limited edition full bloom apparel released in the Philippines. Fans weren't simply watching Eala wear the symbol anymore. Now they could wear it themselves. That transformed the relationship. The flower no longer belonged only to the athlete. It belonged to an entire community. Then came the biggest test. Symbols are easy to celebrate during victories. They become meaningful during defeats. On June 21, 2026, Eala returned to the Eastbourne final against Maya Joint, the same opponent who had broken her heart 1 year earlier. Once again, the match went the distance. Once again, it ended in disappointment. Throughout every point, the Sampaguita remained on her wrist. That's what gave the symbol its true power. It stayed there in defeat, just as it had in victory. Only days later, another milestone arrived. The WTA announced that Alex Eala would partner Venus Williams in the Wimbledon 2026 doubles draw. 1 year after making history alone on center court, she would now share the stage with one of tennis' greatest champions. The flower didn't need to become louder. Its journey spoke for itself. Everything in this story is supported by public reporting. Nike's original Tagalog note was published by tennis.com. Eala later described the hair tie on Instagram as a reminder of where she came from and everything that helped bring her to this moment. Her visit to Nike headquarters was covered by ABS-CBN and other Philippine media outlets. The custom shoes exist. The apparel exists. The hair tie exists. The losses happened. The victories happened. Nothing here needs exaggeration. The facts are powerful enough. But perhaps the biggest story isn't about Nike or Alex Eala. It's about visibility. For decades, many Filipinos experienced international sports through athletes representing other nations. The Sampaguita changed that. Wimbledon's famous all-white dress code leaves little room for national colors. The white Sampaguita quietly fit within those rules while still carrying unmistakable Filipino meaning. No flag. No loud statement. Just 5 tiny white petals. And yet millions instantly understood. For many Filipino fans around the world, it was the first time they truly felt represented on tennis' most iconic stage. That feeling can't be measured in sponsorship dollars. It can't be captured in rankings. It belongs to people. Of course, carrying that responsibility isn't easy. Every young fan inspired by the flower also represents another expectation resting on Eala's shoulders. The pressure is real. The losses are real. So is the hope. After her heartbreaking Eastbourne defeat in 2025, Eala wrote, "This has to be one of the toughest losses of my early career. But I firmly believe it's these moments that make you stronger and shape your character." Those words came after 2025, not 2026. We won't invent quotes that don't exist. Instead, we'll let her actions speak. Just days after another painful Eastbourne final, she returned to prepare for Wimbledon. The flower returned with her. So what does the Sampaguita represent today? Not rankings. Not sponsorships. Not trophies. Those things will change. The flower represents visibility. It represents millions of Filipino children in Manila, Cebu, Davao, Dubai, Milan, London, Toronto, Los Angeles, and countless other places, who can now see themselves on one of tennis' biggest stages. That may become the greatest legacy of Nike's smallest gift. Not what it cost. Not how many products it sold. But what one child believed was suddenly possible. If this story meant something to you, leave the word Sampaguita, in the comments. Whether you're Filipino, part of the diaspora, or simply someone who appreciates stories where sport and culture meet, we'd love to hear from you. And subscribe as Wimbledon 2026 begins. Because the flower is returning to the grass. Only this time, the whole world knows exactly what it means.